It started like any other day. A quiet NATO patrol flying over a tense part of the Middle East. 6 fighter jets, including American F-22s, a British Typhoon, and a German Eurofighter were in formation. Everything seemed routine. Then, out of nowhere, an Iranian F-14 broke into their airspace. It flew dangerously close between 2 NATO jets. It wasn't an accident. It was a bold, deliberate move, but the NATO pilots didn't react. They weren't allowed to. Their orders were clear: don't engage unless attacked. The Iranian pilot laughed on the emergency radio. He mocked the NATO pilots, calling them decorative. That meant useless. He said they were just there for show. The pilots stayed silent. They had to, except for one. At the back of the formation was another F-22. No one really talked about the pilot flying it. The name? Still classified. The call sign? Sierra 6. The others called them Ghost. Ghost didn't speak, didn't ask permission. Just clicked the radio twice. Once as a warning, once to say goodbye. Seconds later, Iranian radar went dark. The F-14 never made it back. NATO's command froze. Transcripts were blacked out. Only one message was recorded, clear, returning to orbit. This happened just 2 years ago. The details are still classified. But the story still spread. People whispered about it in air bases and briefings. Here's what happened. It was a Tuesday. Morning, 08:00 hours. The sun was rising through the haze. The 6 jets flew at 35,000 feet in loose formation. That means they kept some space between each plane. Standard patrol stuff. No one expected trouble. These weren't rookie pilots. They were top tier. The F-22 is the most advanced jet in the world, stealthy, fast, and deadly. Each costs over $150 million. The pilots trained for years. This was serious equipment flown by serious people. The patrol was part of Operation Northern Watch. It monitored the airspace between Iran and Iraq. Tensions had been building. Iran had been pushing boundaries. But that morning, intelligence said it would be calm. The Iranian pilot, Major Reza Hassani, had different orders. He was told to test NATO. He flew an old F-14 Tomcat. Old, but modified. He called it Shah's Revenge. He climbed to 40,000 feet, looked down at the NATO formation, and smiled. They looked relaxed. Unready. Then, at 08:52 hours, he dove toward the formation. He aimed for the space between the 2 lead jets. It was called a knife-edge pass. Dangerous, reckless, but he didn't care. He roared between them at nearly 600 miles per hour. His jet shook the others. But he wasn't done. He opened the radio channel and laughed. 6 pretty birds in a pretty formation. Very decorative. The NATO pilots stayed silent. They had to. So professional. So afraid to move, he continued. He taunted them, saying they were flying expensive toys, that they were weak. He called them cowards. The pilots were angry. But their rules were strict: observe, don't engage. One pilot, Flight Lieutenant Collins, had missiles ready, but she couldn't use them. Another pilot, Major Weber, asked to respond. Captain Thompson, the lead, said no. All this time, Sierra 6 was quiet, watching, listening, adjusting, planning. Sierra 6 had a reputation. No one knew her name, but everyone knew how she flew. Silent, surgical, deadly. She didn't speak unless necessary. Then Hassani made a second pass. Closer this time. So close that Collins had trouble controlling her jet. It was personal now. Captain Thompson checked. And with the formation, everyone responded. Then he called Sierra 6, 2 clicks. Not words, just clicks. For Ghost, 2 clicks meant, I've got this. Hassani climbed again. He was coming back for one last move. Maybe a barrel roll. Maybe just another buzz-by. This is how a real pilot flies, he said over the radio. That's when Ghost dropped back. Not far, just enough. enough to get the perfect angle. Captain Thompson asked if she had a problem. One click? That meant no. Ghost was moving into position. Quietly, perfectly, preparing for something precise. At 08:59:15, Hassani began his dive. This time, he wanted to fly right over the whole formation. A victory lap. "Tell your commanders," he said. "Major Hassani sends his regards." He dropped fast, 45,000 feet to 35,000 feet. He wanted everyone to see. Then came the first click from Ghost. That meant, warning, Hassani didn't notice her. The F-22 was invisible. On radar, he had no idea she was climbing behind him fast. Then, at 08:59:47, his radar lit up. A threat appeared, close, locked on. He looked around, nothing, but Ghost was there. He tried to turn. Ghost followed. Every move he made, she matched. He tried to run. She stayed behind. His radar screamed missile lock. "Breaking lock!" He yelled. Too late. Ghost was with him, like death, like a shadow. But she didn't fire. She didn't need to. She held the lock for 47 seconds. That's an eternity in a dogfight. She let him know she could end him at any moment. Then, at 09:00:35, she clicked the radio 3 times. That meant message delivered. After that, she vanished. Off radar. Gone. Hassani turned to go home. He never made it. At 09:03:22, his F-14 disappeared. No signal, no wreckage, no remains. Iran said it was mechanical failure. NATO said nothing happened. But everyone watching the radar that day knew. At 09:15:47, a woman's voice came over the NATO radio. Clear, returning to orbit. Sierra 6 was back, like nothing had happened. Sierra 6, report engagement status. 2 clicks. Any weapons used? 2 clicks. Good work. 1 click. The formation finished their mission and returned to base. The debrief was long, most of it classified. But the story still got out. Now, Iranian pilots don't play games with NATO jets. They're polite on the radio. They keep their distance because they know, out there, flying silent and deadly, is a pilot who doesn't talk big. A pilot who lets 2 clicks speak for her. A ghost who reminds everyone what real power looks like. The name? Still classified. But the message? Loud and clear.